Okay, I spoke too soon. I was like, oh, we'll see what we discover here. And there was like hesitance in my heart. The second the music starts playing, I'm already interested because this is my type of thing. Okay. Hey everyone, welcome back. Welcome to the ultimate world music reaction channel. It's me, Rosalie. Today we're taking a musical ride over to Israel/Palestine. And I'm going to check out a band called Orphaned. Now, this is an Israeli band. Shout out today goes to Bill Miller. Shout out to Bill Miller. Thank you for coffees and for this request. They are from Petah Tikva, Israel. They are an Israeli heavy metal band formed in 91 under the name Resurrection. And then they changed their name in 92 to Orphaned. It combines Israeli, Jewish, Mizrahi, and other West Asian influences. And they're considered the pioneers of oriental metal. Huh. Very interesting. When I saw the thumbnail, I was like, oh boy, what is this going to be? I don't know how much I want to get into, religious topics today in regards to Christianity versus Judaism and such. And there was this picture of Jesus, so I was like, I don't know what this is. But seeing now that they are pioneers when it comes to Oriental metal, I'm kind of intrigued. So we're going to check it out. All is One. The thumbnail or that symbol on maybe the album cover is kind of interesting because it looks like it combines all kinds of religious symbols. Let's check it out. As always, like, share, subscribe. Thank you for being on this ride with me. Remember, we are all about real talk, real reactions. So yeah, we're going to be real. We'll see what we discover here. Okay, I spoke too soon. I was like, oh, we'll see what we discover here. And there was like hesitance in my heart. The second the music starts playing, I'm already interested because this is my type of thing. Okay. All right. Now I can get more into it. See, sometimes you just got to give it a couple of seconds. I saw this TED Talk that said in the first few seconds, many people decide if they like a song or not. And often it stays that way, even if they continue listening. Okay, here we go. Interessant. Interesting. Orphaned, All is One. Okay, let me pause for a second. Looks like right as what maybe Moses about to part the sea, maybe, or not sure because there's fire everywhere. Okay, slow down. I could see this being very provocative to people just because it's like, very different. We'll talk about the lyrics after. I don't understand everything he's singing, but I'm going to look up the lyrics in just a second. I'm grasping parts of it, and it seems that him, the lead singer or members of the band, keep appearing in different, in different ways, in different religions, representing various religions, from the different hand symbols that he does, attires, to the different settings. It's fairly clear to me, at least, I think, that there's different religions being represented. It's interesting that this was like back in the 90s, and they're considered to be pioneers of oriental metal. And that would make sense. I could see that this was new, especially at the time, to have heavy metal and rock combined with these oriental melodies. And I love oriental melodies. I love when modern meets cultural instruments and heritage. But it's interesting, and again, I could see that being, provocative to some. The whole debate about Israel versus Palestine is already a heated topic anyways, right? Calling the band, naming themselves Orphaned Land is interesting, an interesting choice of name for the reasons that, that we're familiar with in regards to the debate and battle about who the land belongs to. Even in Israel, it feels like, at least to me it did, this belly button of the world, all these religions in one place, Christians coming to do their pilgrimage to see where Jesus lived and died. You have Muslims, you have, the Buddhists and different other religions coming there because it's this holy land. It's considered this really special place, but it's orphaned. It's interesting to call it orphaned because everybody's trying, not everybody, but it would feel like everybody's trying to stake claim. And then to say all is one, so all the same in the end of the day, I'm not sure. We'll look at the lyrics in a second. Huh. Yo, interesting. Interesting that all of that accumulated in that eye of that baby angel. Moses and the burning bush at one point, where, God appeared to Moses to tell him to go back and set his people free, the people of Israel who were slaves in Egypt. You had that staff as if to part the Red Sea. Lots of elements. Those symbols, I need to see some of the symbols that we saw. What was that initial sign? It was almost like the two fingers with the pinky that touches the thumb. No, I'm sorry, the ring finger that touches the thumb. Hand gesture on the right is used for benediction, translating from Latin to mean speak well. Used at the end of church service as a prayer and blessing. I don't know if the one that I just looked up was the one that he did, but different symbols, different religious figures. One was weird. It looked really dark. The horns behind that throne. I know to Christians that could look like Beelzebub, I feel. And then that Philistine god formerly worshipped in Ekron, later adopted by some Abrahamic religions. If that was a reference to that, though, could be to a Christian could look, satanic, like the devil. But in Judaism, the idea of Satan is different than what we find in the New Testament and in Christianity. It could be a reference to idols. When we look at history and religion, without going into too much detail, it's interesting how, depending on who you ask and the religion you ask, different symbols have different meaning. From the bull's horns to something that looks maybe satanic and like the devil, to another religion could be a reference to their god or idol, right? In India, the cow being sacred. But I don't know, I can't think of right now what it was a reference to. It's interesting to see how some of these symbols morphed, meaning a lot of Christianity and the New Testament would say that they derive a lot from the Old Testament, yet we find differences between Old and New. And when you look at Judaism, differences yet again, and Judaism being a monotheistic religion, but if you look at the tribes that were pre-Abrahamic, before Abraham, there was again a lot of polytheism, a lot of gods. So it's interesting how the symbols over the years change and the different idols, and I feel like there was a touch on various religions here, and then to say all is one. Let's look at the lyrics real quick. We're the orphans from the Holy Land, the tears of Jerusalem, and in darkness we've prayed and swore to rise up again. We're the sons of the blazing sun, sharing our faith through the barrel of a gun. Oh, snap. I feel like that's a political reference there too, because the division between Israel and Palestine, orphaned, trying to rise up, right? Trying to reclaim the land, sharing faith through the barrel of a gun. I feel like this is maybe even, shedding light on that hypocrisy, right? On the dilemma of religions fighting for the Holy Land by shooting each other through the barrel of the gun, sharing their religion. Walk on holy water, yet we burn, brothers of the Orient, stand as one. Oh, snap. We walk on holy water, yet we burn, brothers of the Orient. That's well written, because it could imply we walk on holy water yet we burn brothers, as in we burn one another. We're walking on holy water, reference to Jesus walking on water, but then saying brothers of the Orient stand as one. That's neat how that's split up, and brothers works for both of the sentence. Great songwriting. So this idea, I suppose, of all is one, this call for all religions, all people to stop fighting, to stop sharing faith through the barrel of the gun and stand as one. An ancient promise in an orphaned land, a clenched fist becomes an open hand. Interesting. The ancient promise, I think, is that reference to Judaism reclaiming what was promised, because in the Old Testament and in those scriptures, the promise was made that they would return to the Holy Land, they would return home. So this is this promise, and so I guess maybe this idea of you're holding on to something with a clenched fist, and that needs to open up and be an open hand instead. Armed forces spill their blood on holy sands. Yeah, that's really an interesting way to shed light on that paradox and that tragedy, where we speak of faith, we speak of love and a loving God, we speak of forgiveness and mercy in various religions, but then we're like fighting each other, fighting over land, spilling blood on the holy ground. It's very paradox, right? That goes for any religion where there's corruption and where there's desire for power and to fight. It's this idea of, I thought we're supposed to love and forgive each other. Why are we killing each other in the name of our faith? And that's a tale as old as time. We find Christianity saturated in blood when it comes to the Crusades and that what was done to conquer different lands in the name of God. You have that in all kinds of religions, and that doesn't mean that that's who God is. That doesn't mean that that is a proper reflection on what the scriptures and the texts meant to say. But humans are very flawed, and we take those things and then use them for our good. And that happens even on a smaller scale. Even if we're not talking war, you got people who use scriptures in different religions to, justify their opinions or to fight on social media, right? I mean, it's not just war in the sense of blood and guns, but it could even be the way we interact with our fellow brother, where we have stereotypes or where we have prejudices or where we think we're right and they're wrong. And we end up, looking at one another with a clenched fist in the name of God. And then what does it say? Again and again we fail to see that all is one. Words like venom through our veins they run, weaving a web of deception. Hope is gone. Shall we relive the pain of wars before? Or shall we be the light, the new folklore? Evil falls on each of us, there's nothing new. Who cares if you're a Muslim or a Jew? The awakened ones are nothing but a few, and the one to make the difference now is you. And it was interesting because I think that was supposed to be Moses who pointed at us, at the viewer, when he said, is you. From the Middle Eastern lands we ride all children of Abraham, our only sword the light within, that burns as bright as sun. We're the orphans from the Holy Land, the keeper of Shalem. Oh, the keeper of Shalem is peace. Shalom in Hebrew is peace. Salam alaikum, right? Peace be with you. So we bow to you, our warriors, for being simple men. The lyrics are pretty dope and pretty interesting. I feel like calling out some of that political tension, addressing the religious hypocrisy, and calling people to realize we're all connected. And I could see that being a hard pill to swallow because the video was provocative in the sense of Jesus, Moses, right? Those are those are contrasting elements. In Judaism, for example, right? Jesus is not God, and that's idolatry to worship a man. For the Christian, Jesus is God, and right, Moses is part of that story. We have all these different debates. And then like I said earlier, the horns, which to some could look satanic, to others it could just be a reference to ancient tribes and their customs that were even around Abraham's time and even adapted by some of the Abrahamic people. There's so many things that occur throughout history that infiltrate and affect our culture, our religion, the way we morph as humanity that we don't even realize. Where nowadays we might go, this is evil. And some of it might be. I'm not saying that evil and good doesn't exist. There is right and wrong. But I'm talking about these things where people argue about and we don't even realize. We don't even know where it exactly comes from, right? Things have morphed and changed and influenced each other over the course of time. And then you have the element of that lady that it almost looked evil. Like, what is this? Like a Satan worshiper, right? And that were even in my mind, I thought to myself, I get the idea of all is one, but let's be careful. Not everything is good. Not everything is pure, okay? If people are out there, and I'm not talking about people that claim to be devil worshippers and they're just doing it to seem scary. I'm talking about people that are really into evil stuff, that promote or are okay with hurting other people or sacrificing people or hurting children or abusing. There are people out there that do evil and wicked things, and one can't say, oh, kumbaya, all is fine, all is one. I think as a humanity, when it comes to morals, we can agree on most of the basics, even though they will even vary culturally. But for the most part, I think the basics, such as the 10 Commandments, right? Not killing, not stealing, those type of things, I think most of us could agree that that's not good because we don't want it done to us. Golden rule, you don't want it done to you, don't do it to others. There are things that are definitely not good, but I think I understand the idea of this song here. And it's interesting that the oriental was morphed with metal. It's crazy to see how metal is prevalent all around the world. It's really not just a European thing or an American thing or whatever. I mean, it's huge bands in Europe that are, masterclass metal bands. And then you have Israeli band, and they were good. The harmonies, the high voices, his guitar solo. I'm not even going into the music today. Just really good. But it's interesting that marriage of those elements that are, I could see that at the time being very different and unique and unheard of. But then the idea of, like I said, all is one, though I wouldn't say that everything goes, not everything can be one, right? Not everything can coexist, okay? I am not going to coexist in the room of someone who wants to hurt children, but I get the message of the song here in regards to we've got to stand and stop shedding blood and stop fighting one another. Interesting, very interesting. I was hesitant before. It was surprisingly better than I expected and actually really neat and cool because I get to experience these different things that I would have probably never listened to if it wasn't for your suggestions and this channel. So thank you. Let me know in the comments below. What did you think? What did I miss? As always, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next ride. Ayo!